tend to the garden of your mind, because weeds grow automatically, but flowers take consistent work. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Upgrade My Rituals podcast. My name is Kevin McKella. I am your host, and this is the show for high performers, high achievers, solopreneurs, business owners, people who are trying to get that edge, trying to be more productive and ultimately design this ideal day that they can really feel good about when their head hits the pillow. And I think, I think it's a great thing to strive for. I think we have to be careful though, because it's a rare thing to execute every single day. That's why it's called the ideal day. And in order to get the ideal day, we as people have to really take an introspective look at ourselves, and we have to do some review, right? And I've been doing a lot of review of myself over the last 8 years or so, since I really, if you will, awoken to the fact that I have there is possibility for change in my life. I can become a better version of myself, and I should become a better version of myself. And I think the biggest things that we have to really take a look at is comfort zones. So I did a video, you can find it on Instagram only. I did a video about a week or two ago. You'll see it. It's right on my Instagram page, and it's me out by the Long Island Sound, which is basically like the ocean, right? And it's really cold. It's like 21 degrees when I did this, Fahrenheit. And I did kind of like my own polar plunge. I just took off my clothes and I jumped right in the water. And it was really cold. It was really cold. Not as cold as I thought it may be, but it was still really cold. My toes were really numb. I was a little scared for my toes. So don't try that at home. But why did I do that? Like, why would I randomly just jump in the water? Well, when I first began down this road of personal development and productivity and trying to, be the best version of myself that I can be, I was very focused on my mental state, on my emotional state, my awareness of the world, how it entered into my domain, and how I could decide on what I would feel about those things. I could totally have complete control over my emotions because I made better meanings of the things that would happen to me. If somebody cut me off in traffic, I was able to say, well, you know what, that person may be rushing to the hospital. They have maybe an emergency. And even though they're driving, some souped up Mustang, it's maybe they're borrowing their son's car. Who knows? Like, you just don't know, right? You can't judge. So I got really good at that. And I started falling off of that because I got really good at it, right? And like anything that we get good at, it becomes second nature, and we give less attention and less focus to whatever it may be. And then not only that, I was reaping some of the rewards of my efforts because life was going great. Like, just life was really good, got married, got a house, great gig. I mean, it's all good stuff. And then this last year happened, 2020 happened, right? And as many of us woke up, it was a good realization that I haven't been working on that, that control of my emotions and my mental state, and therefore my comfort zone, right? Because I was becoming so comfortable. And this year was the worst year of my life, and I had no control of my emotions. I began to get more control, get back to a baseline of a societal baseline where I wasn't ready to, rip people's heads off, where I, wasn't, in fear of my own health and safety. So I got back to this point, and but I still have a lot of work to do. And I realized I have to go back to my roots of developing mental calluses, developing a mental strength and an emotional strength for things that might come my way. Family members who might, make things way harder for me. I guess unintentionally. I'm not going to jump on a soapbox here, but it's been really hard. It's been extremely hard. So I said, you know what? I was walking my dog and it was really cold, and maybe it wasn't as cold. You know what I think would happen? It was really it was like 18 degrees when we went for the walk, and I was expecting just complete. I was like, I don't even know if we should go out to do that. And you know what it was? It just didn't feel as cold as I expected it to. So right then and there, I was like, wait a minute. I completely had a fear of something, not a fear, but a judgment of something before I really knew the facts, right? And how it would actually feel. And that fake, uncomfortable place, ooh, it's going to be cold, was dictating whether or not I was going to walk my dog. So as soon as I'm walking out, I think that all that kind of came back, and I said, you know what? I'm going to freaking jump in the ocean today. I don't know what came over me, but at the same time, I think something that really came into my memory a little bit, just something flashing. I heard this quote from somebody. I wish I could attribute it to whoever, but I totally forgot. I wrote it down. And it goes like this. I'm going to start over. Tend to the garden of your mind, because weeds grow automatically, but flowers take consistent work. And I thought that was just so powerful, because it's true. So I said to myself, I have to manufacture this, these comfort zones. I have to get out of my comfort zone, and I have to do the hard things that I don't want to do. So let's do this silly polar plunge by myself. So sure enough, I jumped in and it was really, really cold. But I just thought about it because I've been thinking about some of the reactions to that, or some of the conversations around that. And I know some people just think I'm crazy. Some people think I'm trying to show off or something for what, I don't know, my ability to jump in water. And I think it's just been very interesting, because I think still a lot of people don't understand the reason why I did it. The reason why I did it was because I didn't need to. That's the reason. It's kind of funny, right? You do the hard things that you don't necessarily need to do, but you can do. And then when you realize you can do something that seemed like crazy, then all the other somewhat hard things in your life start to re-examine them before you just say, well, it's uncomfortable. I don't like that. I'm not going to, no, really think about that. Maybe I can get that job. Maybe I can leave this job. Maybe I can get the promotion. Maybe I can start that business. Maybe I should start that business. Maybe I should have started that business 5 years ago. I got to do this now. Whatever it may be. Maybe I can lose that weight. And when we start re-examining some of these things, we start to realize that it is possible, because I did something really hard. And not only that, the biggest thing here is the consistency of these, getting yourself outside of your comfort zone. I can't just jump in the ocean, in the freezing middle of winter once, and then 10 years later just be like, yup, I know what, it doesn't work like that. I have to do that on a consistent basis. So, for a while, years ago, I was doing cold showers. Exactly right. Fell off because why? Well, I wasn't feeling the exact, benefit that I can calculate, right? So I didn't really see a need to do it. And then all of a sudden, when life gets really hard and you have really hard emotional days, and you have extreme lack of focus mentally because of that, then you're like, oh, that's why I did it. That's why I worked on those really, really hard things. That's why I got outside of my comfort zone, because those are the things that build that mental callus. If you don't know a guy named David Goggins, he was, I believe, like a Navy SEAL, but my first interaction with that guy wasn't really a positive one. He didn't really do it for me. But he grew on me because I've been reading a book called Living with the SEAL, and this is a book by Jesse Itzler, who he literally hired David Goggins, this extreme Navy SEAL, Green Beret, Army, military. I mean, every branch. He's passed every military branch training that there is, and he's done things that are insane. Like I said, he's got a very intense personality. I can deal with it, but it turned me off in the beginning, whatever. And it's probably still not something I'm a super fan of, but it's a respect because I keep digging into this guy, and I keep digging into like why he does some of the things he does, like why he made Jesse sleep in a chair sitting upright for no reason. There's no reason to do that. No reason whatsoever. Like why would you run outside in the freezing cold when you could just run on the treadmill in the gym? Like why? Because again, you're building this. I mean, now he's building this incredible pace of mental, extremes, and I'm just kind of really blown away. Apparently, the guy ran 100 miles straight. It was like one of those races where it's like a team race where you run a couple miles, I'll run a couple miles, and he ran it just by himself. Broke all his bones in his feet, just ran like it was. The guy just is insane. But again, it's another thing where it's interesting because he pushes the human body way past the mind, where the mind says, if you keep going, you're going to die. And he just says, nope, that's just my primitive brain telling me to reserve energy and run away from the lion, right? It's just really incredible. There's another guy who I'd like to kind of touch on, and I've learned about a long time ago, which is his name is Wim Hoff. Wim Hoff is another incredible guy who pushes his body way past his mind and vice versa, and it's amazing. They call him the Iceman, and he'll like literally like swim in like ice water and just like stay in there, and he's like perfectly okay. like he's really insane. But he's literally trained his mind and emotions to overpower his body, and I mean literally actually regulate his temperature to withstand those. I don't know how he does it. Nobody knows how he does it. And again, it's another one of those guys where when he interviews with somebody, you're like, what? What is he even saying? Who is this guy? Like, he sounds like he's nuts. But then you see him doing the stuff that he does, and it's just like, well, that's getting outside your comfort zone. Boy, oh boy. So I think we have to be really careful to close out today's episode about tricking ourselves. If, for instance, I have you know what? Right on the spot. I have a challenge for you. I'd like you to go, if you're listening to this, I'd like you to go to my Instagram profile. I'd like you to, following me would be great, but I'd like you to at least watch the video. And watch the whole video. And then immediately, the first thing that you can possibly think of that seems challenging and very uncomfortable that you can do that day, whether it's jump in a freezing ocean, whether it's, whether it's, maybe it's not physical, maybe it's mental, whether it's, run, 20 miles. I don't know. I don't know, whatever it is, but something that you can do that's very uncomfortable that day. My challenge to you is to do it that day. You need to do it immediately when you say watch the video or when you realize that you can do this. Even just listening to this episode, you need to find something right now and do it. And here's why the urgency is important. Because We don't want to trick ourselves to say that, I'm excited because I think I can, get outside my comfort zones when the opportunity arises. See, that's the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is training for when the opportunity arises. If you're going to try to go up and ask that girl out on a date, ask that guy out on a date, and you haven't trained to do that, the second it gets uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. That's the whole point. So we have to manufacture these ways of getting outside our comfort zones. And that will only help you and will only spill into the rest of your life, your career, your family, having those uncomfortable conversations with your parents maybe, or whatever it is, or having, having the uncomfortable conversation with the boss, firing that client, whatever it is. Finally realizing that, the way you are physically is a reflection of your daily diet and exercise routines, like, I don't know, whatever it is. But I think it's so powerful. And I don't usually like to have these kind of fluffy episodes too often, because I can only inspire you to do so much. But life is so hard sometimes. And you have to make a decision with what you're going to do when life gets hard. Because ultimately, you're probably going to wake up the next day. But the decision on how you're going to wake up is up to you. And that's all I got today. So I hope it helped. Hope you can find a way to get outside your comfort zone today. Do something. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please leave a review. Tell me that you liked it, and subscribe, and maybe share it with a friend who may need it, who may need to get outside their comfort zones. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week on the Upgrade My Rituals podcast.